Well, today we're going to do a lab called Beef Blasters. And with a name like Beef Blasters, you got to think, wow, this is going to be really cool. I mean, there's got to be something involved here. And that is the case. First of all, we're going to use hot dogs. And we're going to try and make these hot dogs as tender as possible. We're going to do several little experiments to them and see what we can come up with. Now, all the hot dogs are going to be boiled in hot water for 1 minute. And that'll be our kind of like our control, and that way we'll make sure we'll kill any bacteria to start out with, and make them safe to eat. Then we'll set aside 1/3 of the hot dogs for the control that have been boiled, and then the other 2/3 we're going to mess around with and experiment with and see what we can come up with. Now, the first experiment we're going to do with some of the hot dogs is we're going to electrocute them. Now, it's kind of cool. This is not an old idea. I mean, this is not a new idea, I should say. It's actually an old idea. It goes clear back to Ben Franklin. He actually did experiments on all kinds of meat and electrocuted the animals, electrocuted the meat, and found out that he believed it was a great way for making meat more tender. And so we'll do that. We'll electrocute some of the hot dogs and see what we come up with. And then we're going to do some blasting. And this involves good old-fashioned hydrostatic shock. You go, what is hydrostatic shock? Well, when you think of the word hydro, you got to think water, right? So we're going to fill up this canister in here with some water. We're going to put a hot dog inside that has been boiled first, and then we're going to seal the container, and then we're going to give this thing some shocks. And we're going to kick this thing down the hallway. We're going to whoop on it, and we're going to see what comes out. And then we'll test that. You're going to taste everything, all the hot dog samples, and taste them a personal tenderness scale from 0 to 10. And we're going to say 0, soft as butter, that it would melt in your mouth, and 10, so tough it's like dried rattlesnake meat. And then go back and answer the questions on your lab, and we'll find out. Is there some creative ways to tenderized meat? Now, one of the cool things is there actually are scientists doing experiments with explosives and meat, and they found that using hydrostatic shock not only tenderized the meat and made very tough cuts of meat very tender, but also killed the bacteria, broke up the cell walls on the bacteria, and made it safer for human consumption. Unfortunately, they don't allow me to have dynamite, and probably a good thing, actually. And so we won't be using that quite of explosion or technique to tenderize the meat. So let's see what happens.